What the NUP promised the people and their leader in self-exile is their business. So if eating jackfruit at the side is part of the Kukabanja, we have never discussed that at the DF. That should be my question. Okay? So when you get at a press conference at the NUP, ask them whether they are Kukabanja or eating jackfruit as part of Kukabanja. So I would like to ask the question to be serious, very serious. Issues of national leadership are very serious issues, and the jockeying must stop. People must stop playing on people's brains. It must stop. We laid back, not for lack of what to say, but we know what's going on. We know the games people are playing. So, my brother, have the courage to ask that question. The right people, but also, the only thing I can do is to invite the population.
Thank you, party spokesperson. National Chairman, the Deputy President, Eastern, Secretary General, and other members of the party executive here, members of the party, friends from the Fourth Estate. I'd like to welcome you to our party headquarters this morning. I do apologize for the late start. We thought that the drizzles would cease and then we'll have a tranquil interaction. But as to where nature has elected to be lavish with us, and we have agreed to move with it. So I thank you for braving the drizzles. We'll be brief and be able to not lose the gist of our interaction. I would like to most sincerely thank you for the job you do, not for the party in particular, for the country, to report the truth without contradiction, without fear or favor. The DF moved away from the earlier offices we occupied, and we chose to occupy this space for now until we have our own home. But for now, we'll be operating here, and I want to congratulate you thank you for taking time to find it. Whoever is lost, you'll be able to direct them. We invited you here for 3 major reasons. You remember in our last interaction, we informed the country that the DF is considering a number of options after the botched general elections that we described as a fiasco. And you remember the DF rejected the outcome of the elections, the entire process, and whatever is and was associated with it. And we informed the country that we would do something about it. And this morning, we are here to inform you that we have filed a petition in the Constitutional Court, asking court to pronounce itself on a number of issues that the DF construes as the reason why the last election was not an election but a fiasco. And a week ago, we petitioned the Constitutional Court. Notices have been issued to that effect to the stakeholders. We are challenging the various actions of the Electoral Commission by petitioning the court, and the parties are the Electoral Commission and the Attorney General as the law prescribes. And we believe that the Constitutional Court will be able to make particular declarations and pronouncements and orders on the 9 issues, the 9 questions we are asking the court to make particular pronouncements and declarations, and I'm going to answer them. The Office of the Secretary General and will share with you the entire petition as it is, and that you are able to share with the nation. That's not a rumor, including sharing with you the notices to the stakeholders. One of the issues we are petitioning is about the failure of the Electoral Commission to demarcate constituencies as per the Constitution. You are aware that under Article 63 to 64 of the Constitution, the Electoral Commission is obligated to demarcate constituencies every after a national population census. The last census was conducted in 2024, and the law mandates the Electoral Commission to use it before the next election to demarcate constituencies by marking out the population quota. The national population quota is 100,000 people. But we know so well that in this country, some constituencies have 10,000 voters or people, others have 100,000, others 500,000, others 1,500, others with 3,000 people. So we believe as DF that was a very big failure of duty, a serious delegation of duty by the Electoral Commission, and it partly accounted for what we saw in the last election. So we'd like the Constitutional Court to pronounce itself on these brazen weaknesses of the Electoral Commission in failing to demarcate constituencies as the law prescribes. Because the law says within 12 months after the census, the Electoral Commission must demarcate constituencies. What we see is the Electoral Commission instead supports serious gerrymandering, creating interest-based constituencies, not constituencies as per the law. We believe, as the DF, that this is unconstitutional, and would like the Constitutional Court to pronounce itself on that void. 2, we are aware that the Electoral Commission procured voter verification machines that were used, and in using them, there was no enabling law. We believe that was a very serious void in processes, and because there was no law prescribing so their usage, their deployment, that's why the Electoral Commission was at liberty to even get away with them and reject their usage in some places and said it didn't function. They malfunction. The procurement process had issues because there was no enabling law. We would like the Constitutional Court to make particular pronouncements as to the validity of the usage of the VVR machines. Thirdly, the Electoral Commission purported to be updating the voters register. The register, as you're aware, was constructed at various stages using methods that were not very clear to the actors. The actors are the population, the political parties, civil society, and all stakeholders. Up to now, there's no clarity as to how the Electoral Commission came up with the register they used in the last election. And in the process, we believe that greatly compromised the integrity of the entire electoral process. Because the electoral process is as good as the integrity of the processes, as good as the integrity of the register that is deployed, to validate the election. Fourth, you are aware that for every presidential candidate, the Electoral Commission requires that you must get 100 signatures from 2/3 of the districts in the country. At the DF, we believe that that is unconstitutional. What the Electoral Commission says is that in collecting signatures from every district, 100 signatures, the candidate is a candidate, becomes a national, has a national outlook. But for a candidate sponsored by a political party, for you to register a political party, it must exhibit a national outlook. So for you to again require their candidate to again collect 100 signatures in every district, 2/3 of the district, you're making them do double work. It's unconstitutional. We believe that the whole idea of signatures must be for independent candidates, not candidates sponsored by political parties. We're challenging that. We believe it wastes parties' resources, it wastes candidates' energy, because already if you're a political party, you are registered by the same Electoral Commission because you've exhibited that you are a party of national character. You don't have to do that again. So we would like the court, the National Court, to pronounce itself on the validity of that act, which you believe is an act in West and therefore duplicating work already done. 5, we all see the present interference of the military, in particular the UPDF and its attendant organs, interfering and making pronouncements of various nature that scattered the country and disoriented voters. This has been the case, and the UPDF continues in a particular way to interfere with the national elections. And this interference has compromised variously the independence of the Electoral Commission as supposed to be. So we are inviting the Constitutional Court to make a pronouncement on the continued interference, illegal interference of the UPDF, and the particular pronouncements made by the UPDF, in particular its commanders and officers at various stages, that we believe is unconstitutional and therefore has only served the purpose of causing and enfranchising the process and the voters. 6, the law requires that the Electoral Commission should tally presidential election outcomes at the National Tally Center, including parliamentary election results at the district tally centers. But as we know it, the Electoral Commission announced presidential election results without anything from the National Tally Center. We are questioning the legality, the constitutionality of the acts of the Electoral Commission in the way they were making announcements from wherever they were, without recourse to the law, without doing what the law requires them to do. We are inviting the Constitutional Court to declare their actions unconstitutional and therefore make particular orders and declarations. 7, the Electoral Commission, in particular the district returning officers, did not electronically avail presidential election results to presidential candidates' agents, to observers. I'm sure even the media never saw the results at the districts before they were transmitted to the National Tally Center. In other words, the majority of the district returning officers simply transmitted what they were ordered to transmit. They never shared with anybody. Up to now, nobody knows what they shared at the National Tally Center. We regard their actions as unconstitutional, and they served to render the entire exercise null and void. We are inviting the Constitutional Court to declare their conduct unconstitutional and outside the realm of the legal requirement. 8. The DF, you recollect, in one of its bills it proposed to the country, we had wanted the Electoral Commission to go ahead and make provision for the diaspora and the prisoners to vote. You're also aware that the matter of diaspora voting and prisoner voting was litigated upon in the High Court of Uganda, and Justice Lydia Mugambe, in her orders, initially in the declaration of court, she said that it's unconstitutional to deny the diaspora and the prisoners from voting. She actually ordered the Electoral Commission to, in the future, go ahead and make provision for them to vote. The last election was supposed to be the first to follow up that order. It was not done. So we are inviting the Constitutional Court to again make declaration and order again the Electoral Commission. First of all, to again declare their actions as unconstitutional, reaffirm what the High Court declared, because we believe that you cannot disenfranchise more than 3 million citizens from voting, and then you say you're executing your constitutional duty. We would like court to consider this as a very serious delegation of duty by the District Commission to ignore over 3 million citizens from voting by not making provision as a matter that is unconstitutional, and therefore particular orders be made. And 9, you are aware that the Constitution makes provision for individuals that cross parties in the 4th year in the Parliament. Various parties, various members of Parliament, to bring it to speed, the DF has 5 members of Parliament that belonged to other political parties hitherto. When they crossed from their previous parties to a new party, that party must, as of law, become a parliamentary party. The Electoral Commission does not construe the DF, probably, and the PFF as parliamentary parties, and therefore it does not treat them or deal with them as parliamentary parties. We believe their conduct is unconstitutional, and we are inviting the Constitutional Court to agree with us that their actions, their treatment of the DF and other parties that have members of Parliament having crossed over from other parties as unconstitutional, and therefore make particular orders and declarations. So, those are the key issues to which we're inviting the Constitutional Court to study, consider, and make particular declarations and orders to that effect. The matter has already been filed, like I said at the beginning, and we are waiting court to give us guidance on how and when to proceed. Notices have been served to the Electoral Commission and the Attorney General on the filing of this particular petition by the DF as a party, and the particular members of the DF that have deponed affidavits will be there on their own behalf and on behalf of the party as petitioners. But like I said, the Secretary General will share with you the entirety of the petition so that you'll be able to share with the country. That is the first issue we'd like to share, wanted to share with you and the nation this morning. The second issue relates to the Protection of Sovereignty Bill 2026. You are aware that a lot of sections of society have shared their views on this controversial bill. As a lawyer and as a leader and a citizen, I am aware, as well as my colleagues here, that the purpose of legislation is to solve serious or underlying particular society problems. In as far as this bill is concerned, the DF believes that the bill in its entirety is null and void, and there's no amount of cleansing that can change its evil intentions. And therefore, the DF has ordered its 5 members of parliament to reject this bill in its entirety, and we do not want to associate with these intentions. If you follow Parliament, you are aware that about a year and a half ago, Parliament, in a single day, amended over 11 existing laws, acts of Parliament, including but not limited to the Anti-Money Laundering Act. We also amended the Anti-Terrorism Act to particularly take care of matters relating to illicit financial flows into the country, because we advised that if we don't do those amendments in haste, our financial systems will be closed from international transactions. And we did that about 1.5 years ago. Now, for anybody to return again to do the same job, but particularly we are aware that the government is interested just in about 2 or 3 clauses from this bill, and therefore they are hiding behind this to achieve the whole idea of extending the sell-by date of the NRM government. If the NRM wants to extend the sell-by date, it will not do by legislation. You do that by evolving pragmatic people-based programs, not by legislation. So we are inviting Parliament, to which I am a part, to rise to the occasion and say, please, we have better things to do. And as the DF, on some of the issues herein, we are vindicated. For instance, the targeting of diaspora citizens is a matter the DF had wanted to overcome by involving diaspora citizens into civic activities of the country. If they were voters, there's no way to come up with legislation targeting them. So we'd like to invite the diaspora to always be alert. This is to form excitement and clearly understand what matters in this country. Now that this law is partly targeting diaspora, we must understand that part of the insurance they need is to be directly involved in the nation's civic activities, including voting. So the DF is ahead of time. We shall continue to pursue what we had advised the nation to do, and I think people never paid attention. So now that the chickens have come home, we invite again the citizenry to pay attention when leaders make mention of particular pertinent issues that might affect them today and in the years ahead. So we are informing the country that the DF believes that in a nation that we are, that is a melting pot of ideologies, culture, religious, we don't have to do anti-people legislation. And the NRM must understand the whole idea of legislating across partisan lines. So if you did not understand what it means to do bipartisan, this is a bipartisan bill. This is a partisan bill. It cannot pass the test of a bipartisan bill. That's why many citizens and agencies, private, public, civil society are rejecting it. Because when people hold it, they don't see themselves in that bill. It's entirely a single party bill. We want to invite the NRM, that after 40 years in power, you must be thinking of tabling bipartisan legislations. Not legislations that disenfranchise and make the NRM a superior entity and other actors in public space look as though they are alien. So the bill fails the critical test of a pro-people bill, and therefore the DF rejects its entirety. The third issue we would like to bring to your attention is an issue that is playing out in public space back and forth. It has to do with the trade order to which government has issued back and forth orders through the Ministry of Local Government. At the DF, we have this to say. First of all, everybody likes order. But society order begins with governance order. A government that is disorganized cannot organize society. Why did government have to start with the trade order before making provision for workspaces and new markets? Now that the order is in place, at the DF we are saying the government must come out and inform the affected people. When are they making provision for community workspaces where people will go and make a livelihood? I have been studying the budget for the Ministry of Local Government for the next financial year. There is no provision. I've not seen a vote, a subvention where there will be provision for community workspaces and new markets. I've not seen it. So may we see order starting from governance? Because seemingly there is governance disorder. If government is organized, the citizens will equally be organized. The existing trade disorder, the citizens are following the way government runs. So everybody is issuing orders. RDCs, ministers, witch doctors, everybody is issuing orders on behalf of government. So the citizens are asking, so which orders should we follow? Orders are issued, they are withdrawn, and then reinstated. So we need governance order. The minister must show that it's actually ready to accommodate people that have been disoriented by the trade order. We'd expect now that the Ministry of Local Government, through which these orders are being pursued, to indicate with clarity, no vagueness, in each community where they are going to organize community workspaces like it's done in other organized communities and organized governments. Otherwise, we want to see order, but the governance order first, followed by clear guidelines in local governments where trade will be carried out in an organized way and the government will be in charge. Relatedly, we expect the minister to follow up with the people that were given open license to confiscate properties of the poor people and eventually store them in the guise of trade order, to return them to the owners. We don't expect that they have power to steal from the poor in the name of the trade order. We expect government, the ministry in particular, to return stolen property to the poor people. And where it was destroyed unreasonably, the poor must be compensated. We don't expect them to return where they're working from, but they must be organized and assisted to work. It's the duty of government to ensure that people work. It's the duty of government to ensure that people have jobs. So if in their own initiative, people have created their small survival jobs, it's the duty of every serious government to protect them and ensure that their livelihoods are not destroyed or scattered. So at the DF, we thought that those are very serious national issues to which we should invite you to share our stand with the nation. I want to thank you. Allow me to do last in, first out. From Asif. You know, for those of you who read The Animal Farm, General Museveni is the real Comrade Napoleon. He's always right. And he's smartly trying to climb down on some of the provisions in the bill. But the bill, from the way we know him, will stay in Parliament. They're not trying to withdraw the bill from Parliament. I think along the way, he finds himself ashamed of some of the clauses in the bill. And I have not seen exactly what they are withdrawing from the bill, but I know the key interest in the bill is in about 1, 2, 3 clauses. And when they are finally withdrawn, we will know. But what I know is that the bill is still in the House. I actually seen the order paper of 2nd, is it? Of 5th. It is there. We wait and see. It's a question of members of Parliament electing to preserve their independence when processing bills. Like I said, the structure of the bill, the memorandum of the bill and attendant clauses makes lose the whole idea of being a bipartisan bill. It's a clearly partisan bill, but I contend that the submissions of memoranda by various stakeholders made General Museveni rethink what he wanted to deliver. He may want to dilute some of the intentions, but I know he's still stuck to some of them, and to be upon Parliament. He's not the legislator. The members of Parliament must play their role of independent legislators to make laws that will stand the test of time. Otherwise, if the bill is passed into law in the present shape, the DF will be one of the institutions to take it to court, the Constitutional Court, for declarations that it's unconstitutional in its structure. Then about our petition to court and the time, you were particular on dealing with the DF as a parliamentary party. That cannot lose time. The beauty is that you are speaking to a lawyer. The Constitutional Court does not work like other courts. It can make even orders that can work retrospective. Okay, so what you're saying does not work in the prayers we are making to the Constitutional Court. For instance, if there were benefits accruing to the DF that were not considered, the Constitutional Court can make orders that provision be made to do what? To make up for the mishap by the Commission. So time is not an issue. Even when we are not in Parliament, the questions of constitutionality of the actions of the East remain. And therefore, the Constitutional Court can make orders that those actions were unconstitutional, and therefore, the East Commission must make up. Because there was an intention as to why the law was made that way. So, we are not worried about that. There's time for us to demand for remedies. Peter from NTV, the call for action, the petition. Probably when you read it in its entirety, you understand the flow of the. See, the Constitutional Court is not like the High Court.
when making declarations and making orders, it looks at the question whether there's a question to answer constitutionally. And we are raising constitutional questions whether the actions of the actors we are petitioning against were constitutional. And that's the question they'll be answering to the country. So the call for action is very clear. Constitutional questions are never vague. They are clear and they must relate to particular provisions of the Constitution. Maybe that's what I've not given you. You will see it in the document. I thought going per, every article of the Constitution, this, that will take a lot of time. I'm not trying to run a constitutional class in this press conference. I thought I should speak of the issues. But as a media person, you have a duty with clarity unequivocally to present their issues to the country, and I'm going to give you the information you need. Mr. Sendegeya of CBS. Initially, there are rumors that you could be given a position in the government. I am head of the DF government here. I'm the president. There's nothing bigger than that. If I'd wanted freebies, probably I wouldn't be here. And people should understand that some people are what they are, and they will never settle for crumbs. Okay? So go and tell your listeners that I am the president of the Democratic Front. I am committed to building this young party. Its objectives are well enshrined in our founding documents. I fully understand the obligations before me. I also know the duty to the nation that listens to me and the DF, and therefore there are no shortcuts in what we are doing. I'm also aware there are so many people who want positions. So the one that you think should have been mine should be given those who want them. Okay. So, and unfortunately, I'm not one of them. So you will miss me on that list, famous list. Then about the opposition being trusted, because the opposition did inform the nation that they will not only win the election, last election, but they will demand for victory should the vote be stolen. First of all, that should be a question to everybody. The question I can answer is that the opposition has a duty indeed. We have some trust issues, I agree, but so is the population. Does the population know what they want? That's the question we must all answer. I am part of the population. I am also part of the leadership of the opposition. There is a huge duty for us to restore public confidence in our direction. At the DF, we have been consistently demanding for opposition unity, because we know for a fact, we even published our stance on what would constitute opposition unity and what we would do with that unity. It's not simply a congregation for numbers, but unite and pursue particularized objectives. So what you're asking me, what the NUP promised the people and their leader in self-exile is their business. So if eating jackfruit at side is part of the Kukabanja, we have never discussed that at the DF. That should be my question. Okay? So when you get at a press conference at the NUP, ask them whether they are Kukabanja or eating jackfruit as part of Kukabanja. So I would like to ask the population to be serious. Serious, very serious. Issues of national leadership are very serious issues. And the jockeying must stop. People must stop playing on people's brains. It must stop. We laid back, not for lack of what to say, but we know what's going on. We know the games people are playing. So, my brother, have the courage to ask that question. The right people, but also, the only thing I can do is to invite the population to also be more serious. What you asked. Hope I've answered you. If I've answered you the way you thought, Mr. Sendegea, that's my view. The beauty is that the DF has published its stance on what needs to be done. Some people purport not to see what we are saying, but they go behind and say it a different way. The DF has called for various reforms. The nature of reform that will help political parties survive. I'll give you an example. We lost our dear sister, the Honorable Erin Nachimoli, the woman MP for Kalangala district. May her soul rest in peace. If the NUP were a serious political party, and they had followed the guidance we had offered them then, but instead of going for noise, let's go for reforms. Let's propose for proportional representation. There will be no by-election in the islands. The NUP would simply just nominated a replacement. But because people do not want to listen to what they do not know, I don't know whether it is slow learning or incapacity of learning, or both. Here we are. PR as a concept of representative governance would have given the opposition a lot of opportunity to occupy space. We instead even lose our own voices and we cannot even understand what we are listening to. So the opposition must become more serious. Must understand that you cannot do the same thing all the time, change slogans, doing the same thing. On another day, I would have used in summary a term that befits a person who does that over and over, but not for today. So don't provoke me to say things I don't want to say here. Anything that you need to follow up with? Yes, sir? Let me ask his question. As a lawyer, as a legislator, when you bring a bill, without even reading provisions one by one, I look at the first page, the memorandum of the bill. Until you change the memorandum of the bill, I construe the provision as the same. So let me wait for an edited memorandum, then I can have another say. You see the same bill. You do not change the memorandum at a press conference or on Twitter. You bring it to Parliament. Then we can speak a different language about it. Otherwise, this is the bill. Do you have another copy? Go ahead.
Juzi Speaker Parliament Anita Mo yategeezezza nti ekisanja kino Parliament tebadde na opposition. Mu kisanja kyekimu obadde lead of opposition tera obadde mu Parliament ng'okola emirimu egy'enjawulo n'ababaka abamu abali awo maaso. Ate n'agamba nti ate kijja agenda kubamira bumizi. What's your comment ku nsonga eno? Temulina kye mukoze kimala kuba agamba temubaddeeyo.
I have been seeing you around Parliament variously. Did you believe her? I am not a spokesperson, but I can speak to the job I did as head of the opposition. You probably followed how much what I changed on the floor by way of my propositions, by way of my motions, by way of the several bills that government brought, and I was able to amend them. You know, so the speaker has a right to speak in a manner that makes her feel good. I have no right to deny her feeling good about her work. I have my space as an opposition person, and I utilize it the way I elect to use it. But what I think is pertinent from her statement is that the opposition must understand that the space available in Parliament is not for really just looking smart. It must be for serious business. You remember the East African Pipeline bill? Do you remember how much I changed in that bill? Probably you didn't pay attention. Do you remember alternative statements and how they changed the government operations? Go and study the opposition legislative agenda that I issued in 2021 and see how much of that government moved with. Then you can understand the work of serious opposition. It's not just standing up and down. It's about following government actions, you know. I issued and authored an alternative policy for managing public debt. It was copied in its entirety. So I don't want to blow my trumpet, for it's not loud enough, but I encourage the media to follow up the work the opposition does. You know, I proposed legislation over 5 years. 2/3 were copied by government, and they were made government bills. That's what the opposition is not about jumping up and down. It's about understanding the scope of duty and do it to change the way government works. I hear government priding itself in giving local governments 1 billion every financial to make roads. You have forgotten whose motion it was? So people should really know how the opposition works and how things should be done. But I do not begrudge the right honorable speaker. It's her right to feel good about her work. The opposition has a duty to assert presence and not simply make noise. Thank you. The Secretary General for making that elaboration. I think it makes a lot of sense in clarifying exactly what we meant, including but not limited to the petition. What we have said about this particular bill is what we believe in, and like I said, we await the amendment of the memorandum, but I hasten to say there's no amount of amendment that will cure this ill-fated bill. So an amendment of this incurably defective bill would not make it a bipartisan bill at any moment. We construe it as incurably defective and advise the Attorney General to eat humble pie, take it between legs and withdraw it for the good and tranquility of the country, because it's incurably defective. Mubufunze twabaise gabana nammwe ensonga 3 enkulu wigenda maaso mu ggwanga n'ebiri ene waffe mu DF. Ekisooka okutegeeza eggwanga nti twabategeezaako mu lukungaana olwaggulu lw'amawulire nti ekibiina kya Democratic Front kiri mu kwetegereza ensonga nnyingi ezaaliwo mu kalulu akaggwa ekyagala okutwala muko netwali mu kaseera katonga tukyebuuza bammemba b'ekibiina, bannamateeka ne bannayuganda ab'enjawulo abakwatibwako okulonda okw'ebitege kwetwavaamu. Era njagala okutegeeza Mwami Sendege wa CBS nti ekyokubanga DF yafuna member wa parliament tukimanyi nti twafuna obuwanguzi mu bitundu bingi mu butuulibwako, era twebuulirira netutagenda mu kkooti nga tumanyi abaabutuulako ekigendererwa kyabwe era tubawulira nakati beewaana ku bye baakola. Ne tugamba katukole ekyo tulina okukola ekinaayamba eggwanga so ki ekinaayamba abantu sekinnoomu. Kye tukoze tugenze mu kkooti ya ssemateeka ebeeko ensonga zeewaako ebiragiro ebekkaanyiza naffe ku bibuuzo bye twagala eddemu ng'ekkaanya naffe ku nsonga enkulu 9 z'enfunziza omuli okulemererwa kakakiiko k'ebyokulonda, okussa enkola ekiragiro kya ssemateeka. Ne buli luvannyuma lw'okubala abantu emyaka 10 balina okuddamu ne basala ensalo za constituency. Ssemateeka abaamukola baakirowooza bulungi ne bassaawo n'omuwendo ogw'essalira. Tewali muntu yandibadde akiikirira bantu mu paalamenti nga basukka emitwalo 10 gye bayita population quota. Olwekyo kubanga okulala abantu kubeera oluvannyuma lw'emyaka 10 abantu bakyuka obungi, abato bakula ne bazaala bannaabwe, muwendo ne gweyongera. So twasembayo okubala abantu mu 2024 etteeka ligamba oluvannyuma lw'emyezi 12 tulina okuddamu okusala ensalo za constituency. Tekyakolebwa. Twagala ekkooti ya ssemateeka ekkaanye naffe kyoko kyali wabweru wa tteeka era ebawa ekiragiro bakikole mu bunnambiro. Okusinziira bw'eneeba esaze muyinza okulaba okuddamu okulonda mu bitundu ebimu kubanga egamba nti kyali mu wabweru w'amateeka neewa ekiragiro nga kigenda mu maaso so kigamba tujja tutambula tutyo kubanga yina eddembe okugamba nti bakisalirewo oba okulonda okukola ki okujja. Ekyo si kyaffe kya kkooti ya ssemateeka. Ekyokubiri ensonga akakiiko k'ebyokulonda gye kaagulamu obuuma obwalemwa okuzuukuka ku lunaku lw'okulonda babugula tewalina tteeka mwebabugulira, tewali kirambika ngeri gye bunaakozesebwamu. Nezo bayita regulations ezaakolebwa zaali za kimpatiira. Regulation mu mateeka eva mu tteeka kkulu, so tewali tteeka likulembera regulation. Regulation ziba litangaaza ngeri gye munaakozesaamu etteeka. So ekyo tebyakolebwa. Twagala kkooti ya ssemateeka ekkaanye naffe nti obuuma obwagulwa wabweru bw'amateeka era situwewuunya lwaki era tebwakozesebwa nga bwali bulina okukola. Ekyokusatu eregisita yakozesebwa mu kulonda. Twagala kkooti ya ssemateeka ekkaanye naffe nti omulimu gw'okukola regisita gwakolebwa mu ngeri ya kibugwe era ebeeka engeri gyerambika gye mulina okukolebwamu okulonda okunaddako okufaana bwetyo kuba tulowooza nti engeri gyakolebwamu regisita kyekimu ku byalemesa okulonda okubeera okw'amazima. Tulina regisita eya kompyuta ate tulina regisita ey'ekitabo nga tezifaanagana naye nga za polling station emu. Ndowooza ebyo tebisobola kukolebwa mu nsi y'abantu balamu. Ekyokuna ekyakakiiko k'ebyokulonda okusabanga abasimbiddwayo ebibiina by'obufuzi okuleetanga emikono. Pulezidenti asimbiddwawo ekibiina bamusaba emikono 10 mu district 2 eziri mu Uganda ng'ekigendererwa nti abeere pulezidenti ng'alina ekifaananyi ky'eggwanga lyonna. Naye ekibiina ky'ebyobufuzi kirina okusinga pulezidenti waakyo. Kiba kyalangirirwa dda nti kibiina kya byabufuzi akiko ke kamu nti era kirina ekifaananyi ky'eggwanga lyonna. Ate okubazza mulimu gwe baamala edda kuba kubamalako ssente nga kubamalira budde. Twagala kkooti ya ssemateeka ekyo ekiyimirize kiki amakulu era ekijjewo ku babaka bonna okuva ku pulezidenti asimbiddwawo ekibiina by'obufuzi. Ensonga esigale kuba esibye ku bannamunigina kubanga baba bannamunigina nga balina okubaako kye balaga ensi nti weebali era bakkirizibwa mu society mwe bali. Ekyokutaano kyekyamagye okukola omulimu ogutali gwago mu biseera by'okulonda. Magye g'eggwanga tugaagala nnyo. Magye ga ggwanga naye bwe gafunza obuvunaanyizibwa ne gafuuka magye ga muntu
ekyo twagala kkooti ya ssemateeka eweeko ekiragiro n'ekirangiriro nti gakozesebwa bubi era omulimu gwe gaakola gw'okuyisanga ebiragiro n'okwogera ebintu ebitakwatagana na mulimu gwabyo kwali kumenya ssemateeka. Ekyomukaaga ekiraka kyokka ebyokulonda okulemererwa okulangirira ebyava mu kulonda kwa pulezidenti nga basinziira ku ebyo ebizze ku National Talent Center. Balangiranga bebalangiranga omuntu abuuza mu bijjeewa mbigabakaneko naffe ng'amatama ntengo. Twagala kkooti ya ssemateeka ekanye naffe nti ogwo omulimu gwali gwa kibogwe si bwe gubalagirwa mu ssemateeka. N'ekyomusanvu era kikibuka ebyokulonda naddala abakungu baako aba disitulikiti okubanga baalema okugabana bye baali baweereza ku mutimbagano gwa National Talent Center ate babigabana n'aba agenti baba candidate era siwali yabirabako. Twebuuza baweerezanga ki ne ba candidate kyoba olabanga n'abeetaba kuba president baabuuzanga kikyuka ebyokulonda mutulageko bye muweereza biriwa nga bitwalanga abatambuza eppesa lya nuclear tebyalabwako. Twagala kkooti ya ssemateeka ekanye naffe nti ogwo omulimu gwa kibugwe era tegusobola nakwengera guvunda buvunzi. Kyobunaana ekyokulemera kw'akakiiko ebyokulonda okuteerawo bannayuganda abali ebweru w'eggwanga n'abasibe okusobola okulonda. Ensonga eyo nagyogeddeko nti ne kkooti enkulu High Court omulamuzi Lydia Mugambe yagiwaako ekiragiro emyaka ndowooza nga ena egiyise nti abasibe ng'ogyeko oyo ali ku lw'okufa baddembe okulonda. Ne bannayuganda abali ebweru w'eggwanga basobola okulonda nga balondera ku bitebe by'amawanga gaffe nga bwe bakola mu mawanga amalala. Mugalaba wano waliyo okulonda e Rwanda, mwalaba naffe ab'e Rwanda nga balonda wano nga basimba layini ku embase zaabwe. Abantu abalala baddayo ku mwezi tetunaana okusobola kuteekawo nkola bannayuganda kulonda nga bali bweru. Olowooza nti tukyali mu mulembe gwa kulya bikoola bya miti na kulya mirandira. Twagala kukyuka ebyokulonda kakkirize nti okwali okulemererwa era kyali kyakumenya ssemateeka. Twagala kkooti ya ssemateeka erangirire nti akakiiko kaalemererwa okukola omulimu gwako. N'ekyomwenda akakiiko ebyokulonda okulimu okukolagana n'ebibiina ebiri mu paalamenti nga DF nga bikakolagana n'ebibiina ebirala ebinaabaka mu paalamenti. DF kibiina ekinaabaka 5 mu paalamenti ofaanako n'ebibiina ebirala. Ababaka sitwasolesayo basolesse balondebwa abantu bakola ekibiina ekirala nga ssemateeka bw'abalagira. Emirundi mingi tuwandikira akakiiko ebyokulonda naye nga katuziimuula buziimuuzi. Bwe tukawandiikira kanyooka bunyoosi nga taba mubisi tikalina nsonga gye kaddamu yasimba. Ne tukatwala mu kkooti ya ssemateeka ebawa ebiragiro ebazuukuse ebategeeze nti musome ssemateeka mumwetegereze temubongoota. Ezo ensonga eziri mu petitioni yaffe gye twatwala edda mu kkooti ya ssemateeka era kkooti ya ssemateeka yayisiza dda ekiwandiiko ekitegeeza ssaabawolereza wa gavumenti n'akakiiko ebyokulonda nti babayisa embuga babitebye. Tulinze batuwe ennaku ez'essalira ez'okuwuliriza ensonga ezo. Ensonga ey'okubiri ekwata ku kiragiro kya minisitule ya gavumenti ez'ebitundu gye baayita okutereeza obusuubuzi mu ggwanga. Ekiragiro ekyo kibaddemu okujja abantu abakolera ku makubo abali mu buyumbayumba obw'okweyiya n'obutali butebenkevu nga tutegeezebwa nti batereeza bya busuubuzi bupya. Saazirabyemu nga bagenda kuzimba ludda era mu bbanga ki, ekitegeeza nti paalamenti yeetaaga ewalirize gavumenti ereeta embalirira ennyongereza bategekere abantu okukolera. Gavumenti bulijjo ereeta embalirira ez'ekimpatira ez'ennyongereza supplementary budgets. Ndowooza minisitule ya gavumenti ez'ebitundu bwebanga nayo teyeetaaga kusooka kutereeza yandibadde esaba mangu supplementary budget esobole okufunira abantu okukolera, Bannayuganda basobole okweyimirizaawo, bayimirizeewo n'amaka gaabwe kubanga balina ebizibu bingi nnyo naddala mu kaseera kano nga gavumenti nayo etambula yeeyiya bweyiiya. Ekikwata ku ekyo ekisembayo, abantu abatwalibwako ebintu byabwe kubanga ne gavumenti yali teyeeterezezza baddizibwe n'ebyayonoonebwa baliirirwe kubanga ebintu ebyo gavumenti si yabibawa, bantu beerwanako okubeerawo. Ebinaava mu bantu nga tebalina kyakukola ne bakolera biyinza okubeera ebizibu okusinga bisobola okwaŋŋanga. Tulina ebizibu bingi, twagala kwongerako by'abantu batalina mirimu. Already nga tulina omuwendo gwa Bannayuganda ddala abavubuka bangi nnyo abatalina mirimu, era gavumenti erina ssuubi wasalira amagezi okufuna mirimu. Ensonga eyokusatu esembayo y'ensonga y'etteeka kalibattanya oba matankane eryayitibwa Protection of Sovereignty Bill 2026. Tuyogeddeko nti etteeka eryo terina kifo mu nsi y'abagonjofu. Ebigendererwa byayo ebiri mu memorandum oba mu nnyanjula y'etteeka biragira ddala nti ekigendererwa si kyakutaasa ggwanga naye kyakutaasa gavumenti eya NRM. Gavumenti ya NRM bwebanga eyagala kwekubako nfuufu tejja gikola bwetyo ng'eyisa amateeka g'ekimpatiira, tegiwa amagezi ekole ebintu ebyo ebizza emmeeme z'Abannayuganda abagijjamu edda obwesige. Naye nga bwetambula tewali muwendo gw'amateeka gujja kuwaliza Bannayuganda kujuwulira. Era etteeka lijja kwongera kusiga ku bujeemu ku Bannayuganda n'okutegeera nti bafugibwa ku budumu bwa mmundu. Mwaka nga gumu n'ekitundu oguyise twayisa amateeka mangi mu Paalamenti olunaku lumu abagezaako okutaatira ensimbi eziyingira mu ggwanga mu bwenyi bw'amateeka ago amateeka gamala. Omuntu agezaako okukola ekintu ekisinga ku ekyo ndowooza agezaako okusosonkeza Bannayuganda. Obuyinza bw'abantu obulambikiddwa mu ssemateeka bw'oyisa etteeka lino ate oba obunaabudde. DF ewadde ekiragiro bamemba baayo abataano abali mu Paalamenti obuteeka olubeesa yadde okusemberera etteeka lino naye okuligaana mu bukolokolo kubanga si by'abantu bya gavumenti. Ebibuuzo ebibuuziddwa ndowooza mbizzeemu ebisinga ng'oggyeko ebibuuzo bibiri. Ekya Mwami Ssekiwunga, obudde butaddeyo omusango mu kkooti, obudde weebuli n'ebiragiro bye tusaba kkooti ya ssemateeka ewe bikyalina obudde era bisobola okuteekebwa mu nkola. Wabula kkooti ya ssemateeka erina eddembe okuwa ebiragiro ebimu ng'eragira bikolewo mbagirawo era neewe ebiragiro bikole mu kulonda okunaddako oba mu bikolwa ebinaddako okukolebwa. Ekyo tujja kikirekera ffe kitugyetaagako kukkanya naffe ku nsonga zino nga bwe tuzireese. Ebibuuzo bya Mwami Sendegeya, ebyekifo kyakusaalirwa bakimpeera abakyetaaga baba gye bali. Abantu ba DF bonna bano mubalaba banneesiga nze pulezidenti waabwe. Bakuwadde ekiswa kiramba ate otandika okuzinduka obumpowooko oba onoonya ki? Ogenda onoonya enkulukuku. N'olwekyo mulimu ogw'okukulembera DF munene, nange obuzito bwagwo mbuwulira, naye gwe mulimu gwenjagala njogereko mu byafaayo nti nagukola. Saagala kugenda ate kukwasibwa ebyalemerera edda si wange, biba byalemerera biwummuze. Bannayuganda bangi abalina obusobozi obubikola. Abanjagaliza mbebazizza nnyo, naye be munjagaliza nange neeyagaliza birala. Abakikola mu ngeri y'okunzikakkanya
mwemba kubagiza bukubagiza olugendo mukyalina luwanvu mwetaaga busaasizi. Ensonga za opposition n'okutambula nga bwetambula, mwami Sendege yabuuza Bannayuganda banaatwesiga, obwesige bazimba buzimbe. Opposition ekataaliri gyeri okuzimba obwesige obwo. Obwesige tebabuzimba nga tukola bukozi statement na kuyisa biwandiiko na kuwa biragiro. Ebikolwa byaffe okuwaayo kwaffe n'okulemera ku ekyo kye tugambye okukola ne tukikola ne twekwasa ono n'oli kyekinaakomyawo obwesige eri Bannayuganda. Ne Bannayuganda nabo balinako ekibuuzo kubanga wabala okubba obululu